What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about Enneagram Type 5, the investigator. We're in a series that's called When Good Turns Bad for each type. And so what happens when the good strengths of a Type 5 become problematic? And so in this video, what we're going to be looking at is several of the strengths of a Type 5 and how when they get overplayed, when we fail to develop, the other aspects of our personality and we just focus and concentrate on our strengths to the neglect of developing other parts of our personality, our strengths can become problematic for us when we over-identify with them. And so we're looking at the investigator today, and I like to think of each type as though they have certain superpowers, okay? So the superpower of the 5 is what we're going to be focused on today. And we're going to be looking at several of these strengths, several of these superpowers, and how when they are over-concentrated or overdone or overplayed, how it can become problematic. So let's dive right in today and see if we can get some good information, which is what 5s really like, is good information. So this ought to be something that you appreciate. Okay, the first one of the 5, the first superpower that we're going to be looking at for Type 5 is their ability to gather pertinent information and to evaluate that information. Now that's a huge strength. Whatever business field you're in, wherever you find yourself in life, digging through information and gathering information and sorting out what's good, what's useful, what's positive, what's helpful, and what is, just chaff that could be discarded, that is a great strength. So a 5 could really be a great asset to an organization or to a company, a great consultant, because they're able to provide you and sort through so much information and so much objective information and finding the meaning within that data. A lot of people can dig out information, but then turning it into actual usable data that can be productive and useful is another skill entirely. What's the negative side of that? Why would that ever become negative? Well, sometimes 5s can get so caught up in gathering information and sorting through information that they can kind of fail to ever act on that information. And so they can get overwhelmed, with digging up and, rehashing and researching, that they never feel like they have enough information. They never feel like there might be another stone that needs to be unturned. There might be another corner of the library that I haven't investigated yet. And so that could keep a 5 from ever moving forward and actually taking a step or advancing, because that need to research and to continue that research could be just an overwhelming responsibility. So, and also 5s can get lost in the data. They can kind of lose the forest for the trees and get so focused on the minutiae, the minute details of that information, that maybe they kind of forget the big picture, that, for example, that our organization is here to make customers happy and to meet their needs. And 5s could get very overwhelmed with all the details of how to do that they could maybe then be rude to customers and forget that their main objective is to keep the customers happy. And so 5s could get lost in all of that information and all that heavy information, and all that research and all that data, never feel like they know enough, and then sometimes lose sight of the main objective or the main task that is before them. They may be so interested in what they're learning that they don't move quickly enough to take action with it. They may get lost in the process and enjoy the process so much that to cure whatever disease they're working on means an end of their job. And so we're going to stay focused on doing our job. We love our research, we love our information. Yeah, but your goal is, remember, to cure the disease, not to learn everything you can learn about bacteria, or learn everything you can learn about viruses, or learn everything you can about the physiology of the human body. Don't forget, your main objective was to cure a disease. And so when you have enough information to cure that disease, then let's cure the disease. Let's come to the end of this research on bacteria and let's cure the disease. Okay, something going on in my throat today. It is winter time, so okay. Next, intellectual understanding and vision. Okay, so that's a superpower of the 5. Intellectual understanding and vision. So 5s, tend to live in their heads. They tend to deal with a lot of information, and they have really excellent heads and can be very intelligent, very bright, very sharp, very quick thinkers, good minds. Well, what's the negative of that? Well, it could be the negative is maybe they could overvalue their ability to reason things out and then kind of undervalue other people's ability to reason things out. Other people have minds too, and other people can be sharp and other people can be bright, and also they could undervalue other ways of knowing information, such as intuition, such as you just know in your gut that this is not a good choice, or common sense. You just know in your gut that this is the way you should go or the way the company should be aligned. Or emotional intelligence. Maybe knowing that, yes, the information is correct, but let's not say this so directly and so bluntly in front of this mixed audience, because some people might be hurt by this information or might be emotionally damaged by this information. And so let's be careful with people's emotions. I don't think 5s are naturally going to have a bent toward being careful emotionally with people, because the facts are the facts and the data is the data. And why would you not want to know what the data and the research indicate? And so they may not be as intuitive about being cautious with other people emotionally. And they may not have a very high regard for the knowledge that is known emotionally. Here's a good example: being able to read a room. Like a 3 can walk in and read a room to know what do people admire and what do people want me to be. Or a 2 can go in and read the room as to where are their needs and who is hurting right now and who needs help. Or a 6 might be able to go in and read a room as to where are the potential threats and dangers. That's all good information that people can just sort of pick up on based on their personality type and based on what's important to them. A 5 may not value that kind of information because it's not facts, it's not objective, it's kind of felt information, it's sensed information, but it is information. And I think a 5, could be damaged or cause damage when they are not aware or they don't appreciate, that kind of information, and being careful with that kind of information. They can be so focused on the hard facts, there we go, the hard facts, the hard sciences, that they can kind of make light of the soft sciences, like the sociology of the room or the psychology of the room. Those are those soft sciences that 5s may not have a, strong respect or understanding of. But it's all real knowledge, just like the hard knowledge is real knowledge. Okay. Let's look at the next one, number 3. Objective analysis. Objective, meaning you take yourself out of it. It's not subjective, where you're stuck looking at this information from your perspective, but you're objective, meaning you're trying to look at information from a higher vantage point that isn't colored by your own personality or your own way of looking at things. And to a sense, I don't know that any of us can really be completely objective, because we all are subjects and we have, our own subjective way of looking at things, our own subjective worldview. But 5s do have just this unique ability to sort of take the emotion out of the room, out of the decision-making process, and to make decisions on objective facts. In other words, if there's a conflict between Sam and Larry and there's a heated, exchange, the 5 will hear all of that and they'll be aware that there's a lot of emotional energy being spent, but they will regard that emotional energy as though it's information. And if you ask them, Bob, the 5, after hearing Sam and Larry, what has been said and what do you think we should do? Bob is going to process that information like, well, Sam said these facts and Larry said these facts, which made Bob upset. And you'll register that. I forget who I'm talking about now, who made Sam upset. Bob's the one who's the 5 telling you this, made Sam upset, and I registered that as information, but that is not important to the argument whether Sam is upset or not. Sam can be upset all he wants to be, and Larry can be upset all they want to be, but that doesn't strengthen their argument, because arguments should be based on objective facts, not emotional outbursts or emotional sensitivity. So Bob, being an objective observer of this disagreement, can evaluate what has been said, the way in which it's been said, and then sort of draw a line at the bottom of it, put the subtraction or the addition symbol, and then say, based on this exchange, this is what the outcome is. And the 5 isn't as likely to get emotionally tied into all of the subjective stuff in this disagreement. Bob is going to remain more objective about it. And so Bob's a great guy to have when you're having a disagreement in the office or a disagreement in the work environment, because they're able to just kind of cut through all the garbage and say, here's the facts. Here's what was said. Here's how they responded. And this is the end result. And 5s just don't care about all that emotional stuff. They register it as knowledge, but they just don't care about getting involved in it. They want to be emotionally detached. 5s want to be emotionally detached, and so they are emotionally detached. Now, what's the downside of that? Well, the positive side is they can think even-handedly and objectively and hear information, evaluate it, and come to conclusions based on that, and keep everything objective and everything emotionally, desensitized, okay? But what's the negative of that? Well, the negative of that is, if you can excel at separating yourself from the emotions, you might have trouble being sensitive to people's emotions. And so you might come across as an insensitive person or an insensitive jerk. And if you're a 5, you've probably been called things like that before. And you're thinking, what? I just stated the facts. I just shared the information. But, all of us try to be careful in sort of quote unquote greasing the wheels of relationships, the pleasantries, the social norms, which is hard for 5s. 5s don't give a lot of credence and a lot of importance naturally to social norms. The walking in saying, hello, how are you? I had a great weekend. What did you guys do this weekend? How's your mom doing? Is she feeling better? Great. Oh, you know what? I know a guy. Let me give you a card and some information. Tell her to call me anytime you want. Good to see you today. And then 5s don't sense a lot of value in those, relationship expanders, okay? The 5s want to get to the facts. They want to get to the information. They want to cut to the point or get to the point. And they don't really have a lot of sensitivity to all that emotional stuff. But emotional stuff, we are emotional creatures, and most of us are not emotionally detached like 5s are. So I think 5s can sometimes damage people and not be aware, and certainly it won't make sense to them how people got damaged, because literally they're going to say, why would that person be upset with me? I literally never speak to them. And that makes sense to a 5. Why would that person think I don't like them? I literally don't know their name. Why would they think I don't like them? I've literally never talked to them. That makes sense to a 5. Now, if you are a 5 and you hear that, I hope you hear a little bit of the kind of ridiculousness of that. People have certain expectations. They expect that when you're in an office environment or in a civic group or a church or something like that, and you pass by each other, there's certain expectations or social norms of how you're supposed to greet one another and what is called small talk. And when that's missing from the relationship, I guess just think of it as like a chocolate chip cookie with no chocolate chips. It's a cookie and it's sweet and it fits the description, but it's missing something. And I think fives can come across to people kind of sterile, kind of antimicrobial, kind of, separated from the rest of us. And maybe that's how you fives want to come across. Maybe you do have a little bit of that aristocracy, of I'm this person with this giant brain and you're lucky to have me on the team. And the rest of you guys, don't really understand life. I don't think that that's the way fives think, but if you're not careful, you can kind of come across like that, or like a cactus, like a cactus, kind of prickly like a cactus. And at the end of the day, people might be glad to appreciate a cactus, but they don't really hug a cactus, which is, kind of another thing on the list here is fives want to be given their space, and so they'll give you space. Fives want to not be intruded on. Let's say it that way. Fives don't want to be intruded on. And similar to a 9 in that regard. 9s don't want to rock the boat, and they don't want their boat rocked. They want to remain comfortable, and they want to remain, sort of sedentary. I don't think fives are sedentary. They don't have that temptation like a 9 to be sedentary. Fives they don't want others stepping in and telling them what to do and disturbing them and, moving in their space. Fives want to keep their space their space. I always think of fives in like the lair. Fives have their lair. Like Batman had a lair. I don't think Batman's a 5, but that sort of that mad scientist. Okay, let's go there. Mad scientist has his laboratory, his secret lair. Dr. Evil, his secret lair, and where they're doing all their experiments and all their research and all their information gathering and all that. And they don't want people just barging into their lair and ordering them around and moving all of their stuff and touching everything. That is very disturbing to a 5. Now, what's funny about that is fives will do all of that to you. Fives will do all that because they don't recognize social norms as well as they should. And they will literally barge into your room, barge in and, overtake your conversation, touch all of your stuff, take your stuff, and step all over you, but not want you to do that back to them. They don't want to be intruded on, yet they fail to see when they are intruding on others. So what's the downside of giving you your space? What's the downside of wanting a lot of personal space and not being intruded on? Well, it can be difficult for fives, like I said, to engage with others. A really unhealthy 5, will just completely disengage, and they will actually make you feel so awkward that you quit engaging with them. They just become almost non-responsive. Grandma would say rude. Grandma would say that they can be rude because they just will grunt at you. How you doing today? I heard you got a new job. How's that going? Have you made any friends there? And that could literally be what you get back from them. And if they feel like you're intruding on their space, they have an ability to just kind of make you feel so awkward that you'll leave that space. And some of you guys are probably laughing right now, and others may be scratching your heads. They'll just maybe turn up their music or just look at you funny until you realize I'm bothering them. Fives are very sensitive to sound. They're taking in information all the time, and so if you're loud or your kids are loud, you'll see them. You'll see them get frustrated. You'll see them get upset. You'll see them, maybe not really get over the top angry, but they'll make you aware that you're a nuisance. And you'll, being a kind-hearted person, will say, I gotta go. I realize I'm being a problem. I gotta go. Okay. What else do we have here? Self-sufficient, autonomous, comfortable working alone without feeling like they need a lot of space or a lot of attention or supervision from others. Yeah. But again, the downside of that can be it can be difficult to engage with people sometimes. It can be difficult for fives to strike up a conversation, that was not naturally going to come, to a five. Okay, the last thing is humble and self-deprecating. Self-deprecating means you don't take yourself too seriously. You're able to laugh at yourself. You're able to sort of laugh when people make fun of you or, tease you or something. Fives tend to be shy, and they usually aren't very comfortable, being in the spotlight, being in the public eye, making the presentation. That's hard. That's when fives go to 8, when they're making a presentation, They don't seek affirmation from others. Okay, they're not like 7s and 3s that want to be the center of attention and want to be liked and want to be applauded. Fives don't really seek that out usually. They don't need to get all the credit for things. They don't mind working behind the scenes. They are motivated to learn and to share with others what they've learned, to help others with what they've learned. And they know meaning in their work intrinsically. Their work is valuable to them simply because it's valuable to them. They don't have to get, necessarily a plaque at the end of it to feel like that was worthwhile. The learning itself and the engaging through the information itself is the reward. So what am I saying? They don't necessarily need to prove themselves in the eyes of everybody, like some of the other types might want to try to prove themselves. But what's the downside of that? I mean, that's a good thing, right? Well, in most relationships and in most organizations, there's a certain interdependence in that office or in that organization where we need each other. Fives can sometimes be uncomfortable with interdependence. They like to be independent. They like to think that they're going to be safe. Remember, they're a fear type, right? And so they feel safe by all of their mastery of information and their mastery of the knowledge. And the idea that we need each other and that I need you as much as you need me isn't necessarily a comforting thought to a lot of fives. That we need to be interdependent. And a failure to recognize that interdependence can be problematic because a five can start to think, I'm the smartest one in the room. I've got all the information. I'm the only one that knows how to rewire the system. I'm the only one that knows how to. And so therefore, I'm the needed one. And rest of you guys, do something, I guess. And, of course, that can come across as very minimizing or trivializing of other people. And other people can be upset by that. And it's hard to have, a good office working environment with that kind of mentality behind it. Fives' reluctance to focus attention may also mean that they don't show up when it's appropriate to receive feedback, or to celebrate successes, or to accept credit when it's due them. And so, fives, they can become problematic in that way as well. All right. Well, I hope this video has been helpful to you. I hope it's been encouraging to you. And if you are a 5, you can certainly work on these and make sure that these don't become problematic, because after all, you love information. And so your love of information will hopefully move you toward observing more of yourself and observing your work environment and the people in your life, what they're saying back to you and the feedback you're getting from them. And, being patient with people and thoughtful and reflective. And all of that, I think can be a catalyst for resolving some of these potential weaknesses or dangers or threats to your overall success and to your overall health. As always, be present to life. Don't get so caught up in searching for information that you fail to act on the information you already know. Don't get so over-focused and hyper-focused on objective information that you neglect subjective information. Subjective information is information. So how are you doing? How are your relationships doing? How is your family, and how is your home life, and how is your health, and how is your hygiene? And all of these things are important things as well. All right, thank you guys, and I'll see you next time.